A series of attacks on the homes of elderly people in Luton are racially motivated. The victims fear the aim is to force them to sit up and move out.
This is the latest attack, a beer keg thrown through the window of a 74-year-old great-grandmother in the middle of the night. It's the third time it's happened. The last was on Christmas Eve.
You can imagine Christmas Eve and somebody flinging a brick through your window, how it felt. When everything's supposed to be jolly and happy, you feel down, innit? And they are flinging brick through my window and run. They are cowards.
In the next street, another couple who've been targeted repeatedly.
At night time, I personally can't sleep. And you don't know what next they will do. You wonder sometimes if they're going to put petrol or boom or something through the letterbox.
And around the corner, this house. It looks unlived in. In fact, it's been home to one couple for 60 years. Now so terrorised, they won't take down the boards.
Because it always happened between about 1 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And you were really worried, sick, wondering what was going to happen next. Because there weren't just little bits of stones of things. These were real house bricks and lumps of concrete that they'd thrown through the window.
Meanwhile, families are doing what they can to protect themselves.
I am one of the old type, determined black woman. I am not going nowhere. If they don't like me here, they can go. I'm quite happy where I am.
Scared, but most of all angry, they're not moving.
Yeah, just talk me through. Tell me the story.
Okay, well, about 5 years ago, I got rid of my car, and I became more prominent in the streets of Newham, and I started noticing people get out of things as they would pass me, or people were spitting very close to me in the streets. And after about a few months, I realised actually they're spitting at me, and I faced quite a lot of anger. I faced quite a lot of just aggression from various younger Muslims in the community, simply because I was a Jew, or rather a conspicuous Jew in the college. And one time I was cornered in the college. I was shoved into the corner, and I was made to justify the existence of Israel. Well, I've got post-traumatic stress disorder, and I experienced a lot of panic attacks. Yeah. So it's, yeah.
You've been living under a barrage of abuse and threats and intimidation for years.
Yes, 5 years now, and you know, it's been coming up for 300 incidents, attacks on me and my home, and it probably wouldn't be so bad if I knew that, you know, maybe the authorities would have my back, but unfortunately they don't. I do think every morning, you know, I'm still here, and I go to bed at night. I live today, you know.
I've seen the image of your property. It's like Fort Knox now.
Yeah. I mean, my friends that I had to stop my friends coming to the house because I couldn't guarantee their safety. So I never have friends at the house. I always meet my friends outside. I can't have family to live with me because it's too dangerous. I live in...
See, this is 2014 in the Borough of London.
You've got posters glorifying terrorism. You've got billboards. As you walk up your street, the billboards are now painted over. Anything showing a woman's flesh is covered up. This is all to fit in with Sharia. This will just show some posters. That's the covering up and billboards. The Magnificent 19 posters on a phone box.
We have a young man here who wants to become a Muslim. He's only 11 years old. What's your name, man? Sean. So Sean. Pause. So Sean here is going to become a Muslim. He's going to repeat after me. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
Many of the people in that video are now fighting for ISIS abroad. What they're doing there is they're outside Birmingham Bullring shopping centre. They're stopping an 11-year-old boy who's without his parents under a banner that says Jesus was a Muslim, and they've converted him, as you've all seen. Is there anyone in this room that thinks that's acceptable? That is not acceptable. Could you imagine the reverse if hundreds of radical Christians converted an 11-year-old Muslim child walking through the city centre without his parents? There would be uproar. So I watched this group do this, and I waited. And I thought, let's see what politicians, police, someone's got to do something. Nothing happened. On Armistice Day, Remembrance Sunday. And I went up to a police officer and said, how is this being allowed? You should have seen the public's face and reaction to what's going on there. British soldiers burn in hell, British soldiers burn in hell. The BBC, you want to talk about propaganda? The BBC did not report this. Not one BBC news station reported this. Try not to cheer anyone, yeah? What have I got to talk to you about? What have I got to talk to you about? What have I got to talk to you about?
What to say about Islam and that, innit?
Yeah,
yeah. So why don't you say it now?
What do you want me to say?
Yeah?
It's ideology, it's got no place.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's got no place, bruv.
And what you
So
got?
vote what you like, bruv. You have
Wait,
about 100 you in a minute. You fucking little chief. You fucking chief. Prick. You see? That is Islam. I don't know why I called him a chief, but he was not arrested for that. That went out on Channel 4, national TV. You tell me why he wasn't arrested. I'd have been arrested.
I'm Stacey Dooley, and this is Luton, where I was born. I went to school here. I even worked at the airport, and then I moved away. But now I'm coming home to find out if it's true that Muslim extremists are taking over my town. It didn't take long to witness firsthand the extremism I'd been hearing about. I wasn't sure what they were marching for, but tensions were running high.
Your sister, brother! Your mother! Where is the case? How dare they take our woman?
It turns out the demo was in response to the arrest of local woman Mona Thorney, whose husband set off a bomb in Stockholm in 2010. I cannot believe this. I've never seen anything on this scale before. And it breaks my heart to think that this is happening in my town. Hands off Muslims!
Hands off Muslims!
Hands off Muslims! Everyone's got a right to protest, but I found their chanting provocative and extreme.
British police go to hell!
This is the message to stop oppression.
Police burn in hell. British police burn in hell.
Yeah, because
No real Muslim wants anyone to burn in hell.
yeah, but for what they've done, for the
You
consequences
can't
of their
pick and
actions.
choose. You can't pick and choose. Come
You
on.
either believe or you disbelieve.
You know
You
what?
choose to wear this, I choose to wear that.
You and I will
That's
have
why you
to.
look naked on the street.
Do I look naked? Do I really? I don't look naked.
Who are you trying to seduce?
No one's trying to seduce me, and I'm not trying to seduce anyone. You shouldn't judge me how I try not to judge you. You are. You've just said who am I trying to seduce? No one.
I said I am doing.
Well, I don't judge you because I'm above that. Excuse me, go and put on some clothes. How you choose to live how you choose to dress like that, I choose to dress like this. You don't start.
Could a Muslim join the English Defence League?
Of course they could, yeah. Of course they could.
And yet you say you're not against Muslims.
No.
They could join your organisation, but you are against Islam.
We're against Islam taken in its 7th century barbaric form.
Well,
Which
your
when it's
direct
taken-
quote is, I'm not against Muslims, just Islam.
Against militant Islam. And when I say Islam, taken in its 7th century barbaric form. If Islam was to evolve, which it needs to evolve, to fit in with Western democracy, which is clearly not, clearly there's a problem. Clearly the English Defence League is a phenomenon that swept this country. And with the issues I'm talking about, Jeremy, if I ask you, Do you know anyone that's hooked on heroin sold to them by Muslim gangs? You probably don't. I do. Do you know any beautiful girls that you went to school with that are now wearing a burqa that don't see their family? Probably don't. I do. Do you know anyone who's been murdered by a Muslim gang? You probably don't. I do. Do you know any 15-year-old girls that you know that you've grown up with that have been raped or pimped? You don't. So I don't expect you to understand the issues.
These are all personal issues of yours.
Personal issues in towns and cities like mine that are happening, and they're not happening with the Sikh community, they're not happening with the Jewish community.
And indeed, they're not happening with most Muslims.
No, they're happening within the Islamic community. That's what I'm saying, that it's an Islamic problem. And when I'm just a simple person, so I'm just a normal person, but when I'm looking at, I have to look for where this hatred is coming from. And talking about these girls like they're statistics, they're not statistics. These girls are, well, whose daughters do you think these are? Whose sisters? They're ours, in working class towns and communities. And people are fed up of what's going on, and it is being ignored. For 20 years, our councillors and the leaders from the Islamic community have conspired with the police to not deal with Muslim pimping gangs. They've allowed systematic rape of our youth by the fact of being scared to be called a racist.
Am I the reason you get stoned every week now? Build up integrity, got you texting, emailing me, wanting me to feel with you. Baby, just face reality, move on.
Sometimes it's hard to face reality.